done two solo albums, haven't you? You've done one in 2007 on Frontiers. That was your first solo album, yeah? Have you done any more prior to this new one? Because I looked at your website today and it looks like you've done three solo albums, three different covers. Or is that just a single or something?
No, these are all different colors to differentiate between the singles. Yeah.
Oh right, okay. So your first album, I really like that album. Fantastic album. Not one. I'm not gonna bullshit you, David. I really do like that album. I think the first album was fantastic on Frontiers. I mean, how did you get all the musicians for that? Because you've got Paul from Eden's Curse. You've got loads of musicians. How did you hook up with all these people back then?
Same as now, really. I mean, obviously there was like a bit of internet, of course, at that time. Not the internet that we know and love today, of course, but we I even used to jam with Paul on Skype. You know what I mean? And it was a bit. It didn't really work together. The internet wasn't good enough.
Well, Skype's pretty shit anyway, isn't it? You look at it, it's not as good as Zoom.
Putting it like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Zoom is just incredible. I mean, I tried it out first time, I think last year, and I was like, whoa, this is a whole different ball game compared to Skype. I mean, they've really just reinvented the whole thing. But same sort of thing, really. Just got in contact with people. Paul, I met uh, just beforehand for whatever reason.
I think it was, if I remember rightly, I think it was the festival at Nottingham Fire Fest, wasn't it?
Firefest. Well, we met for real then, of course, and we'd already contacted each other, and we'd met for real, and then I think the whole thing of him working with me, he realized it was possible to do something online like that, and he started the old Eden's Curse thing basically, and yeah, to be honest, it's a few years ago now, so it's not always really easy to remember how I did it back then. But of course, some people had to send their tracks on a CD or a DVD in the post.
So Alex was on that album, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Primal Feet. Who else did you have on there for people that don't know? Who else played on that album?
well, there was that's gonna be something now, man. I mean, what's he called now? I'll have to come back to that one. Obviously, Dirk Brunenberg played drums on all the record, and then we had to revise things. And then Chris Smith, who's now in Pink Cream 69, played 5 tracks on drums. Generally, the bass was played by Paul. Guitar wise, Tommy Denanda played on a few bits and pieces. Um, yeah, just really just friends. And then I got a few other people involved, a lot along the way. This record was definitely more. The new record was so many different people involved.
I mean, that first album in 2007, that was a fantastic album. Did you ever think, if I do another album, how can I make it better than this? Because that album was solid. It must have been hard for you to try to compete with that first debut album.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to. I was not going to make another record. I mean, it was for me. It was a done deal. I'd made that solo record. I make 2 or 3 records a year with different people, and for me to have, I didn't really need to have to make another record. And
Oh, you got my hopes up there because I heard the album. I thought, oh, he's going to do another album. Can't wait. It's like, what the fuck is it? What's the next one? you know,
yeah,
brilliant
so
album though. I mean, every song is solid. I mean, how well did it sell for you? It must have sold really well because you actually played Prog Power for that album, didn't you? And then you Pink Creams and also Pretty Maze were on the same bill, I believe, at Firefest.
that's right. I played one day with Pink Cream, and the next day I played with. No, I played with my solo record, and then the next day Pink Cream 69, I think.
How did it go down? Well, I mean, did the album really sell well for you that debut album?
No,
Because I
I think it did, but it was on Frontiers Records, so I never really. I don't know how many records that record sold, to be honest, because they never really tell you.
No, did you do any touring for that album, that project prior than Firefest? Was there anything in Europe, or was it just that one-off
No,
show?
no, we did 2 shows. We did a place in Kerkrade in the Netherlands, and then we played in the UK, to be honest. And it's always been a bit difficult for me to be a boss of my own band, kind of thing. It's a lot to take on, and I never enjoyed it. I would have continued to make a solo career, but I never enjoyed it. I always enjoyed working with other people and being in other people's bands, you know. So
So I mean, your vocals. I mean, you've got a very bluesy hard rock voice. I mean, obviously David Coverdale must be a massive influence, and Glenn Hughes. Is there anybody else?
Paul Rogers, obviously Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant, stuff like that. 70s, I'm a real 70s kind of guy, you know. Bit of Kate Bush.
I mean, you can actually hear that on your vocals because like everything you've done's been hard rock and blues on it, but it's all your voice has always suited that music so well.
It fits like a glove, and I like a lot of different styles. I mean, I do different styles. I sing different styles, no problem. But that's where my voice, you know, it's where the strength is. You know, at the end of the day, when I was tooling up my voice, you could say in 87, 86, when I was 16, 17, I was obviously listening to a lot of Whitesnake. I was listening to a lot of Zepp and Paul Rogers. So in a way, when I was forming my voice, I was listening to a lot of stuff like that, and that's the way it goes, man. That, you know, if you're playing guitar, it's the same thing. You're going to get your influences from that time, and it continues, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Adagio is probably the heaviest thing you did, isn't it? But your voice still suited that music.
Yeah, I think so. The record company guy did say by when I was recording the second song, he said, "Look, David, we need a bit more dirt in this." You know what I mean? So I did. You know, I got a bit more. You know, I listened to a bit of Symphony X, and then got a bit more dirty, and that's what they wanted. You know, because yeah, I mean that can happen. You know, they come and say, "Look, we're looking for a bit more this kind of thing," you know, and that's what I did. You know.
You know, like Whitesnake at the minute, David Coverdale's had about calling today, and I've got that Dido guy singing. Why did you audition for Whitesnake?
Well, you know, I didn't know that there were ever any auditions. You know, and I don't think there ever were. I think really that young guy who seems to be doing a lot as well, it's just one of them, you know. He probably knows the right people, or he's got the right manager, and they said to Coverdale, "Look, get this guy playing a bit of keyboards. He can sing great backing vocals," and he just thought, "Great," you know. That's all I can imagine. Maybe it went differently, but I never heard of any, you know. And plus, I don't really play keyboards, so you know.
How would you have felt if you would have been asked to audition for the band?
I would have thought it'd been cool, but I just wouldn't be sure exactly what I would be doing in the band. You know,
Well,
being
you could always say, "Here's another song for you. Here's another song for you," like David Coverdale does.
yeah, I could do that, and you know, I could pretend to play keyboards to try and get in the band. I suppose I have a bit of fun about that, you know, which is the funny thing. But I think you know there's a license to do whatever they want. They had a cool band towards the end there. Whether it is the end, who knows?
Hmm.
Um, it is a shame, really, because Coverdale obviously at some point was an incredible singer, and he's obviously had some kind of illness. It's affected his voice. It's an emotional thing. I mean, if I'm not well at some point and I'm not singing up to my usual standard, it's difficult. It can make you really pissed off, of course. You know, with a guitar, you might change the strings, you might hurt your finger, but in a few weeks it's fine. You know, whereas vocal, it's a very sensitive thing. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it could really change overnight your career. You know, whether you continue to be a good singer, and that's happened to him. He still goes out there. He still has a confidence, which is incredible, to be able to go out there and sing live. I've watched him live, the way he's singing now, of course. It's definitely not the Coverdale that we know and love and remember back then. It's a question of whether he should continue doing that. Someone like Robert Plant's still out there, but he sort of does the songs different in a way. He sings them lower, but it's possible because Led Zepp were always a bit more earthy. You know what I mean? That you could jam that stuff out different. Whereas Whitesnake stuff, it's the wrong era for that kind of thing, you know. And they got more heavier than lighter, I guess. And yeah, it's difficult because you know when you're young and you're doing all this crazy stuff and this cool stuff, you know, you don't think about whether you can do it later on. You know.
All right then, David. So we're going to talk about a new album, Medusa. So you've released this yourself on your own label. Did you not approach any labels to help you out, or was it just a self? Right, I'm going to do it myself, and that's it.
Was really just like that. I mean, for me, it's about you know I've lined other people's pockets many times over the years, and I decided that basically I'm going to make this record myself. It was sort of an exercise in what's possible. and it's not a big deal to make your own record, but obviously to make a good record and to sell a few copies and that people are into it and to get good reviews and stuff like that, that's a whole different ball game, of course. This record would never be in the charts, unfortunately, because not having a record company or somebody to gauge how much that I would sell, or not being on Amazon and stuff like that. That's a negative part. But I did get approached by a couple of record companies, but I decided no, I'm going to do this on my own. So when I sell these records and send them out, it's money's all mine, man.
That's great. Was it a pledge? I believe it was a pledge thing, wasn't it? That you asked for campaign or sort of. Was it a
Yeah, I mean,
pledge?
some people pledged a bit more, which was a good thing. And then it's difficult because obviously I'm going to send everybody a CD, and if they pledge more, I mean, what should I send them? But they knew that they wanted to give more and help this thing, to get this thing off the ground. And but generally, most people paid their, there's like a pre-order thing, So when it came down to it, was about 270 people basically had sort of pre-ordered the CD, and with extra help from these other people, I got the 5,000 together that enabled me to make the record, which is very cheap. I mean, to make a record for $5,000, it seems like, whoa, $5,000,
Wow.
it's a lot of pints. That's a lot of pints, that, and many kebabs. You know what I mean? But and many nights out. But when it comes to mixing and working with professional people, that's nothing. It goes like that.
So the album Medusa. Why did you call the album Medusa?
I called it Medusa because I've always had a fascination with this the female head with the snakes, and let's be honest, it's very rock and roll. The whole Medusa thing is very rock and roll.
I
And
think the
it
first
sounds
time I saw Medusa, it was probably a band called Viva, which is Michael Schenkel's sister back in the way in the day. Do you know if you remember that band, Viva?
no.
Michael Schenker it's got a sister, she plays keyboards. They did an album with a Medusa on the cover. And then you've also got Anthrax, who did the song Medusa back in Spreading the
Well,
Disease
it's
album.
funny that nobody there are obviously people who've named the band Medusa or made a record called Medusa as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I really remember, vividly or anything. And I was looking for a cool name, and it's something rock and roll, something short, something that people can sort of connect to somehow.
Kind of
And
makes you do. It kind of makes you do that, doesn't it? I've looked at her. That's it. I'm frozen.
well, yeah, and that the first track, Madame Medusa, that's what it's about, basically.
It's
Rock
kind of
and
weird
roll.
because the album's called Medusa, but the first song's called Madame Medusa. Why did you decide to call the song Madame Medusa, or not the album Madame Medusa?
Basically, because if I just sang Medusa, it wasn't cool, and I needed something in front, so I called it Madame Medusa. That's it.
Right. So did you have any other titles at all? Was it just that Madame Medusa end of?
I had absolutely no other titles whatsoever. It just came to my mind, and I decided that's it, finished.
So what about the album cover? Who did the artwork for this album? Has he worked with you before on other projects?
Well, he did my re-release of the first record. He did the artwork, and it's Jobert Melo from Sledgehammer Graphics in Brazil. So I've never met this guy before. You know what I mean? He's just he did so much. He did Primal Fear artwork. He did. Yeah, if you look on his website, man, I mean, this guy's done so much, and
It
he's
sounds like he's done the new Jaded Art album. I could be wrong because I was interviewing Jaded Art the other day, and they were telling me that some guy from South America did the artwork. So it could be the same
possible.
guy. Yeah.
Possible. Really good guy, and he sent me the first thing because I had an idea, like the thing and the wall, but it was missing the middle, and I said, look, we need something in the middle. I said, what about a female face, snakes, whatever, and then I thought, hey, it's called Medusa. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's not rocket science. You know what I mean?
No.
Some people would have this incredible story, but I unfortunately don't. It just came to me, and I said, right, it's called Medusa because you've got to come up with the goods. You can't just spend weeks on end. I needed to come up with the goods for the first single. Because obviously it took me a year to make the whole thing, and I'd released different singles, which was good in respect that I was kind of in people's minds for a year. Beforehand, rather than throwing a record out there and within 2 or 3 months people have bought it or not and it's gone. So this way I could really expand on the marketing. And yeah, and I wanted to make the t-shirts and everything, and he came up with the artwork, and it was done. And for the CD itself, I said to him, look, for example, Shelter from the Storm, put some kind of picture behind there, some sort of storm or something. That's all I told him. That is it. And the artwork that is on this record inside each track's got its own kind of, you know,
Story.
story and
Yeah.
of course the artwork behind it. And I changed nothing. It was finished.
Absolutely fantastic. So, for the people that don't know about your solo album, who's the musicians? You said Medusa on the album doing drums. Who else have you got?
Well, I said Michael Kohler from Almanacs doing drums. We got Bodo Schopf on drums. Bass, we got a lot of Dutch guys. We got Randy van Elsen, who plays with Vandenberg
Oh
now.
yeah.
We got a friend of mine, Steph, a local Dutch guy, incredible bass player, playing a lot of tracks. We got Raoul Walton on Mary Jane from New York. He obviously lives in Germany many years. Played with a lot of massive artists in Germany, Westenhagen, still stuff that's on the radio today in Germany, Guitar wise, millions of guitar players, like I got Roland Grappow from Masterplan and Halloween. He played on Turn to Black. Guitar wise, I got Lucky Regazas from Crazy Train or something like that. They're called. I can't remember the name, but he also played in Pendulum of Fortune. He
Oh
played
yeah.
on the second record. He played all the solos. Incredible guitar player. Yeah. Zibi Krebs, another friend of mine. A lot of people. Jessica Conte did she was a guest on the first track, Madame Medusa.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She did the vocals. Never met her either.
What band was she in, or what band is she in before? Who did you hook up
She's
with?
more of a guest vocalist type sort of young lady that travels around and does a lot of work and lots of gigs and stuff like that. And we'd connected up with some Corona thing, like a track that never seemed to get released. Also video wise. And I guess we did this, and she must have decided there's no point in releasing that other track, because I knew that, see, obviously I made 4 or 5 videos, like them, I hate them. I made videos for these first singles, of course, basically myself. And I knew that she could send me some amazing videos as well, which she did. Because you can imagine, you record a track and everything's great, and then you want to try and make some kind of video in Corona times, and that person can't record video. You can't make a video. You can't really make something that's got something about it. You know what I mean? And she made some great video, and we'd never met. At some point we'll meet on the road, but we've never met before, which is incredible, really.
I mean, you said the album was produced by Dennis, and like you've got Roland Grappow doing guitar solos. Did those two work together on the master and mixing? Because Roland's also a producer, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Not at all. I mean, honestly, he played the rhythm and he played the solo on that track. It was like a one-off thing. I just said, look, I wrote to him and said, look, we've obviously met before. Obviously it's difficult times. Are you in the mood to play on a track? Because I felt that this track fit really well to his kind of style, this master plan type sort of thing. And that's what he did. And Dennis didn't produce it. He, obviously the whole thing was obviously my job to bring everything together. And Dennis mixed it, and I, I guess the first track was Shelter from the Storm. So he knew what he wanted to do. And he just continued with that. And really, really with Dennis, it was really like he'd sent me like 1 or 2 mixes and it was finished, because I trust, his opinion and his taste. I'm not going to get crazy with this guy. And I know that when he sends me something, it's almost there.
Right then. So, what's your favourite songs off the new album? I mean, Shelter from the Storms, you've just released as a video. That's a fantastic song to release.
I'd say Turn to Black. I'm waiting for a lyric video, where I perform in it as well. I'm going to release that as well. Looking forward to that. And Generation Dead. Obviously, Shelter from the Storm. Yeah, I think I'm happy with most of the tracks. some tracks obviously appeal to other people more. The last track, "The King Who Lost His Throne," the last ballad, power ballad, was also a weird song in a way, but it's also very liked by the people. So
Is
all
that going
good
to be
stuff.
a video, do you think, if it's very liked by the public?
No,
No.
I'm going to make a lyric video for the Turn to Black, and that'll be the video number 5, I think, and that's enough.
I think if you do too many, then you're going to promote the whole album on YouTube, aren't you? You're not going to sell enough albums then.
Well, to a point, but I think these days, if you sell records, of course, I want to sell my CDs, and if I do a concert, obviously I'm selling CDs, but it's few and far between. I mean, some people don't even have a CD player anymore. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, at the end of the day, they're going to watch it on YouTube, they're going to listen to it on Spotify, so they need to have something visual. Of course, it's not a good idea to put the whole record out there, but if I don't, somebody else will.
Right. So, how was the response so far? Did you like the review that I did for you? Was it good enough, or am I going to get my balls kicked when I see you next?
Well, we'll talk about that one when we meet up, man. But
Oh, have I done something? Have I done something wrong besides pixelating the album cover?
no, I was talking about your back there, man. It's great, but it's not sharp. Is it not meant to be sharp,
It's supposed
or?
to be the background like that, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I
Yeah.
just feel that
You've got to think
yeah,
about pixelating, haven't you?
possibly. I've got a fixation with it. It's a bit of a sort of pixelation fetish, I think.
I think
But
I think that guitar behind you's pixelating as well on your pictures as well. I'm joking, mate. I'm joking. Just
no,
winding you
no,
up. Just winding you up. So,
no,
how do
I
you?
just because you've obviously got this. You're looking good. You've got good lighting going on. I just think that background. Something has to happen with that background.
I'll have a look and see if I can change it.
Needs sweetening up, and then it's just going to be top class, man. That's all. That's really all I was saying.
All right, thank you. Much
Um,
appreciate that. I'm up for criticism.
yeah, it's you're
It
obviously doing a
helps.
good job, and you know yourself to get a good looking image of yourself where you look healthy is not easy.
No.
You need time to mess around and to get it to work and everything. And if you just sort out that back somehow, I think you're rocking then.
Cheers, Dave.
It's
So I was going to say to you, how do you see this new solo album as a progression from the first one?
I think with this,
I do feel some. I do hear some similarities of this new album from
yeah,
the first one,
yeah.
like a continuation kind of.
Yeah, I think it was important to have that for the fans, you know what I mean, that they could relate to it, But I also I've obviously involved as a musician. I've been done other different things in between, of course, since then. Obviously I was a lot younger back then. And this record I could do whatever I wanted to a point, whereas with the Frontiers thing, it was kind of a certain direction I would need to go, obviously melodic.
Yeah,
Whereas
to release it.
Frontiers
Yeah,
have changed already again. They've got lots of different bands these days. Back 13, 14 years ago, they had a certain kind of melodic type style of bands that were on their roster. And of course, now that's changed in a big way. It could even be Metallica on Frontiers record. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
um, I got to do what I want to do, and obviously I worked with Julian Sprutels, who played obviously the keyboards. It was definitely a good writing sidekick, you could say. We wrote a few songs together, and yeah, I'm
So
happy with it, man. It started off as a kind of a crazy thing to do. Let's make a record for the YouTube channel, and it ended up being a lot more.
brilliant, fantastic. Do you have any new songs wrote for the next album? Then?
I have stuff.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I ain't thinking about it just yet.
No, no, no. You need to promote this and get on the road and support this.
Yeah, I need to, get out there a little bit, let the dust settle a little bit from the mayhem, and then, think about the next one.
I mean, you've been touring. I mean, I spoke to you the other day, and you were touring over the weekend for this album, I presume, just promoting it. Where did you play? Did the concerts go well for you?
Well, I didn't. It's very rare that I'll obviously play these songs at the moment. It's really just, aside from being in through the circle of Pink Cream 69 or whatever, I'm out with a lot of other different people doing some tribute stuff, bluesy type stuff. I'm often out there as a guest. People invite me to come and sing certain kinds of songs or whatever, be it rock or other types of stuff. And it's survival. You know what I mean? And it's also being out there, and I enjoy it. I'm kind of person, I love to be on stage, and I love to be out there being a singer. You know what I
So
mean?
what's the heaviest you would do if somebody asked you to sing on an album? How extreme would you go music wise?
Well, I think I think Slipknot I could deal with probably.
You're gonna wear the mask.
Maybe not while I was recording, but on stage.
I reckon you could be pretty good for something like Dimmy Borgir, like a black metal band symphonic, just to do backing vocals on certain parts of the song. I reckon that sort of music, you'd be pretty adaptable to that.
I mean, I'm on for a lot of stuff, but these bands where there's a heavy guitar and shit, which I like, and then there's this kind of like a going on. I have to draw the line because for me personally, I don't get it. I don't
Nah,
get it. I'm a Led
nah,
Zeppelin. I'm
I'm
a Led
not.
Zeppelin.
I'm not a fan of the modern growling metal, but I do like my old school death metal.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But this kind
Yeah,
of you can't really sell what they're singing about, and it don't make any sense really. Um, you know, yeah, that's where I draw the line. I'm a Led Zeppelin fan. I
yeah.
like, in a way, intelligent music, so it's difficult for me to accept that some guy, he can probably sing quite good, but for whatever reason he has this need to do this weird sounding stuff. Maybe I'm just too old. I don't know, but it's just not my thing.
No, no.
It's just not my thing.
So when are you going to be touring for this album then, David? For when you're thinking of promoting this album live?
Well, as soon as possible. I think for me, it's just time to find out what's going to happen next. If you know what I'm talking about. It's all good at the moment. Everything's fine as far as the big C's concerned. Who knows what's going to happen in that respect? But probably the beginning of next year, I think.
What about musicians? Are you going to try getting some of the musicians that played on the album to play live with
Yeah,
you? Are you going to?
definitely. It's going to be what's doable. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's I'm not going to be flying people in and messing around. It's really just going to be what's possible. What's honestly doable with the people who played on the record, or maybe other people.
I hope you play the UK. It'd be nice to see it because that's where your homeland is, really, isn't it?
Well, it is, and unfortunately, stupid as it is, I've only played there a few times. I played, obviously, I played Nottingham a few times, the Firefest, and I was down London with Almanac one time, which is ridiculous, really. You know what I mean? And there's people out there that played so much in the UK, and they're not even from there. You know what I mean? And it's weird in that respect, but it's just how it is. But on the other side of the coin is I've played so many times in Germany and the rest of Europe and the world. So it's just how it goes. Yeah.
So before we finish, how was this recent concerts you did with Pink Cream 69? How did they go well? Because I saw some of your pictures on Facebook.
Well, the Belgium thing was a good one. It was a second gig, and we we have practiced like a couple of times. It's difficult because I'm in the Netherlands. They're far away from me, the guys. It's doable. But we met up a few weeks ago and we started, getting ready for this stuff. Belgium one I really enjoyed. The Czech Republic was great. The Masters of Rock's a fantastic festival. I enjoyed it too, but it was kind of like the first gig after like 2.5 years, which is kind of weird in front of like 10,000 people. You know what I mean? Anything could go wrong. That was good. Traveling was a bit hardcore, but Belgium was really good. And I guess in a few weeks we'll be out in France, so I'm looking forward to that. And it's a good feeling in the band, even though we've been at it for years. Of course, we do have new members, which brings a bit of life again into the band. Obviously, Marco on guitar, he's definitely got an energy, man. It's like, and it's kind of weird because you get a bit lethargical after so many years, and then you get these guys in a band with all this energy, and they want to do this and that, and that's kind of weird, and you got to get used to that. But it's great. It's a good thing.
Right then, David, I would like to thank you for doing this interview. Wish you all the best. Have a nice week. So, do you have anything to say to people watching this on YouTube?
Thanks for listening, guys. Go and check out my record on Spotify. Obviously, you can pick it up. You can order it from me. DavidReadman.com. Fill out the form and I'll send it to you with an autograph and a signature. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Yeah, definitely, David. It's been a long time coming.
All right, then.
So, have a nice evening, David. Be safe. Stay
You
metal.
too. Take care, my friend.
And you, my friend.